To Focus on Arts. Again, we're talking with my friend Robert Reichman about our rights as artists. And Rob, I want to start this episode with a little bit of housekeeping. And Jack reminded me of it in the last break. And I want to just tell you that I don't think that it's fair that you are so tall and so good looking and so successful. And I think that you should feel bad about that.
Yeah, I don't know if I can apologize for it, but I thank you for the compliment.
Okay.
I was born this way.
Okay. You had little to do with it then.
Very little.
Okay, well, it's still unfair. So bear in mind that I do not appreciate that about you whenever we talk. Okay.
Understood.
Okay, great. I also want to make it very, very clear to everyone that you are definitely an attorney, but you are not providing any legal advice now. We are just talking as friends. And I think that's important to note because you are an attorney, and I know that certain things can come up, and you are not providing any legal advice right now. We're just talking as friends.
Absolutely. And a lot of the information that I anticipate to give would be very generic.
Okay, good.
As opposed to specific things that people should do, you know, in the event that they need to seek legal advice.
Okay, great. Now let's start out with somebody that's just beginning, and can you tell me, I've always wondered, because a copyright is very easy to get. A trademark is very hard to get, it seems to me, because it seems like there's a lot more involved with a trademark. You have to wait much longer. What is the difference between the two? Can you give me a breakdown on that?
Well, generally speaking, they represent different kinds of rights.
Okay.
Copyrights are the rights that a person or a business has to a work that is put down in what they say is a tangible medium of expression.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, for example, if you write a treatment, a screenplay, a composition, musical composition, the moment that those thoughts and concepts are put down in a tangible medium of expression, technically they are copyrighted.
Oh, wow.
So there is protection based on something like that.
So kind of built in.
Yes.
In a way.
Yes.
Okay.
However, if there's ever an issue with a copyright and you're looking to litigate or have the courts determine your rights, there are certain things that you would have to do, for example, to actually register with the Copyright Office, the U.S. Copyright Office.
Okay.
And that's a prerequisite sometimes to litigation, or not sometimes, that's a prerequisite to litigation.
Okay.
Trademark is protection of something else. It's not necessarily your story, your song, your idea. It could be literally a trademark. For example, Coke or Coca-Cola, or a brand name is a trademark.
I see.
And so it's a different level of protection, and sometimes you need protection for both.
Okay.
Sometimes one or the other.
Okay.
And then the third form of intellectual property, which is known as a patent, which is a whole different situation, but still in that bundle of intellectual property rights.
Okay.
So these things sometimes work together.
Okay.
You know, if you take Apple or some big corporation, their intellectual property attorneys deal with all three and more.
Okay.
So that's why it's so important that if you have something that you're creating or a business that you're starting or just some sort of an idea that you're putting out in the marketplace or a process or an invention, to seek out the advice of competent intellectual property counsel.
You know, and it's unfortunate because we've talked about my case and what happened to me in my old business, and I really now wish I had talked to an attorney before I started, because I had developed something that was very valuable and it was basically taken from me.
Right.
So
unfortunately, I can't comment on your matter since it's protected by the attorney-client privilege.
Right, and that's completely fine. That's fine. I've already put that one to bed. I've put it behind me now. I've moved on. So anyway, I want to ask if it used to be, tell me if this is true. When I first started writing a long, long time ago, I was told that if I wrote something, printed it out, put it in an envelope, sent it to myself, and then never opened it, that would be considered, if I went to court, that the stamp on it, when they stamped it at the post office, that would actually act as proof that I had created that at that time. Is that true?
I think that can be strong evidence. If someone were to have taken your work improperly and infringed on your rights, and, for example, published a book that's the same book that you wrote, stole it from you, in effect,
right.
That you can look perhaps at the evidence that shows when they put that work into a tangible medium of expression, writing it down or putting it into a dictaphone or recording it or what have you, and then you would look and compare your data, postmark or something like that. It's certainly good and potentially very powerful evidence to show that yours preceded theirs, or theirs preceded yours.
Right.
And so it's certainly not a bad idea.
Okay, but it's definitely not the catch-all that's going to save you no matter what. There's a lot involved in trying to prove that you've done something before somebody else.
Correct. One of the things that a lot of folks do when they write something and they want to keep sort of a date stamp on it that's going to be more date certain and very reliable is they will mail and send in a work to the Writers Guild.
Oh, wow.
Who will, stamp it. It'll be recorded in a sense, the date and what the work was and so forth. And that used to be called the poor man's copyright.
Okay.
Not that filing with the U.S. Copyright Office is very expensive, but some people just decided not to do that.
Okay, so you can send it to the Writers Guild, and that can act as evidence if something comes up.
Yes.
That is a great piece of advice. I did not know that. So, okay, well, let's hold here, take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about law and protecting yourself in general, aside from art. Okay?
Great.
Okay, so please stay with us, and we will be right back with my friend Rob Reichman.